This is the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast with your host, Greg Jameson. Influencer marketing is the process of identifying, researching, engaging, and supporting the people who create high-impact conversations with your customers. On each episode, I talk with industry leaders, business rock stars, and internet celebrities who contribute their knowledge about influencing others and growing your influence. Welcome to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. I'm your host, Greg Jameson. If you happen to be watching today's podcast instead of just listening to it, you'll notice that I've got a special guest with me. Abigail Manning and I have been friends for a long time, and I don't even know how long, but people that listen to this podcast on a regular basis are going to think either I only have my friends on here or I have people on here who I've never met before and have just wanted to be on my podcast. Sometimes there's people somewhere in between that are acquaintances and that I've known for a while, but I'm just getting more information from them. But Abigail and I actually have been hanging out for a long time, go to each other's houses for parties and whatnot. But a few years ago, she decided that not only was she going to be a business person in terms of doing interior design, but that she really had a lot more to share with people. And she's gone out and has joined kind of the public speaking circuit. And is helping people through a whole myriad of issues. But recently she put out a newsletter and blog post that I found was really interesting. I was like, I got to get her on my show. And that has to do with us celebrating successes and why that's important in our business. So I'm just going to kind of stop talking for a second there and say, welcome to the show, Abigail. I'm really excited that you're here, and go ahead and tell our listeners anything else you want about yourself.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg, for having me on your show. As you said, we've been friends for a long, long time, especially through my 22 years of running an interior design firm. And then you have been a huge encourager and supporter 3 years ago when I started Create Awareness, Change Lives. And so I can't thank you enough. You're absolutely authentic and sincere in your efforts and hopes for people. And that's why I also want to be here to help cheer you on, because you've cheered me on in the past.
Well, thanks. So this whole idea here of us celebrating our successes, can you tell me a little bit more about what your thoughts are about that and why it's important?
Absolutely. So my workshops and keynotes are all pretty much about mental health, mental wellness, so that we can become really strong individuals and build these thriving cultures. And what I found in my life, especially, I would have a goal. I would go after that goal. I would give up a lot. I would work really hard. I would fight the good fight. And then I'd get there and I'd be like, well, I listened to the old language that I was raised with, that, you're not good enough and it's not so special and anybody could have done that probably faster and better than you anyway. And I found that I was never celebrating my successes. So instead of being encouraged that I hit a milestone, I was a little bit discouraged because I had so much farther to go. And it was like you're always running your tank on empty. And I realized when I wrote that blog post that that's not the way to live life. And that doesn't help me think bigger. And it certainly doesn't help anybody around me who's looking to me for maybe some inspiration or insights, or the people who are around me, like my colleagues, to think big, right? So I started thinking about it, that if I can't celebrate my own successes and I can't share that with other people, then how in the world are they ever going to really be authentically involved in my life and understand my struggles, and vice versa? It's all about connecting with one another and saying, I see you, I encourage you, and I'm cheering for you. And also, I'm a shoulder if you need one to lean on.
Yeah, I think one of the things that happens so frequently is that if we are really out there celebrating our successes, we're afraid that we sound like a braggart.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the last thing that we want is a world full of like braggadocious, egotistical, because that's a slippery slope to narcissism. And there's a difference. I work with a lot of companies and corporations and C-level executives, as well as kind of supervisor positions, as well as military. And what I keep seeing is humble leadership. And in that humble leadership, it's almost like it's a mutually exclusive type of feeling. Like if I cheer for myself or show people what I've done well, it looks like I'm egotistical. And that's the last thing I want to be. Whereas really, it can be an opportunity to say, hey, Greg, I was really scared to do XYZ. I was afraid to make 20 sales calls. I was afraid to come on your podcast. And then you can talk about that and connect with people. And then they can look at you and say, I've had those same feelings too. And then what it happens is you build this unity where if we're cheering for each other, I know you have my back. I know you care about me. I know you see me. It's very different than being out there by yourself or saying, hey, everybody, aren't I great? Aren't I great? That's not the real point of celebrating or telling people some of your accomplishments is like to brag about you, but it's to bring people on board so that you're a team and you're unified. And I have energy and a win. Let me share it with you because it might give you some extra energy to go for your win.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to sound like a politician.
No.
So yeah, I think it's really important that we do that as well. And quite honestly, I don't know that people in business really do it enough. I know that if there's something where you have a company and the whole company does something fantastic, you make some top 50 list or whatever, then maybe you use that in your marketing purposes and so forth. But it's really a question of celebration, like you said, of, hey, we did this, and it pulls the whole team together.
Absolutely. And for me, mental fitness is really mental well-being, mental wellness is about two things. One, not feeling alone, not feeling isolated, but yet feeling unity and togetherness, and I have your back and I care about you. And the other is feeling defeated, feeling lack of hope. And if we can create optimism, and that's why I like celebrating, because it's the positive end of mental fitness. It is, we're in this together. You can give a quick acknowledgement to someone along the way who has helped you, or someone that supported you, or how it was a team effort. And then it creates hope. Even if we don't win, for example, in business, the contract, the deal, we did a great job. We came together. And, John, I know last time you were really nervous to present. This time you look like you've been doing it for 20 years. Great progress. Right? Success doesn't have to mean that we landed the biggest contract or won the Olympic gold. It just means that we're making forward movement and we see that in one another. We can acknowledge that in one another. And then we build this unity where I know you have my back and you care about me and you authentically see me. And you can also then, as an owner of a company, tell them, here's what I'd like to see you work on. Here's something I think that you can develop even more. Right? So it can be constructive feedback as well that gets tied into it. And then people want to raise the bar. They want to go after a bigger goal.
Yeah. And I think that what you were saying there about not winning the contract or whatever, sometimes when you don't win the contract, the fact is that you still won because you went through the process of figuring out the steps necessary, and now you know what to do for the next time. And because of that, it is a win. It's like, well, I learned enough that now I know that when next time I have a customer like this, a potential customer that fits the same criteria, I know what to do so that I can get that contract. So it's still a win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a win also that you weren't afraid. You didn't play small. That's why celebrations help us think big and act big. So when we get worried about, will I fail? Then we start playing smaller. If we get worried and our thoughts are negative, like, what are they going to think about me? Or I am not good enough to land this contract, or I might get hurt, or I might be embarrassed, or anything of those negative type of mental thoughts, that's when we start playing smaller. Well, that doesn't serve the world. So I know we both ski, And when my kids were little, I used to teach them when we were skiing, if you don't wipe out once, you're not skiing hard enough. Like, because they were afraid to fall. And so we went through the trees and I like fell a couple different times. And my son was like, well, are you okay? You're okay. And I just started laughing. And then he realized what was happening. He's like, oh, it's okay if I fall, isn't it, Mom? I'm like, absolutely, it's okay. In fact, it's kind of fun. And then we started a snowball fight. But the point is to keep thinking big and not be devastated if we fail or don't make the mark, or listen to those negative thoughts. Listen to the positive thoughts over here instead.
But now when I fall skiing, it hurts.
Well, I no longer have the philosophy, if you don't wipe out once, it's hard enough. Now it's you're brave, you're wise. I agree.
So this whole thing here about honoring and celebrating your achievements, I think that rolls over into celebrating other people's achievements too. And when you do that, it helps to really build a stronger relationship. So.
Absolutely. Well, like, let's take the skiing example. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, go ahead and comment on how when you honor others' achievements, that it helps with the relationship.
Sure. Well, let's say that you are an Olympic skier and you win. Well, you didn't win all on your own. You won because some parent drove you to the ski slope. Some person paid for those lessons. The coach showed up. The timer showed up. Maybe your uncle sent you, I believe in you. I can't wait to see you on the Olympic stage, and you were only, a card, and you were only 12. There's a bunch of things that go into developing who we are and what voices we listen to within our own selves. And so when you do have a victory, to honor that, to be able to say, and thank you to my uncle in Indiana who sent me a card back when I was 12 years old. And it encourages other people then to write notes. For example, hey, I have a niece. Hey, I have a sister. Let me write them a note, because we don't send very many notes. I love sending handwritten notes of encouragement and congratulations and gratitude, because emails come and go, right? We just delete it, like, oh, that felt good for about a week, and then delete it. So many times people hold on to the cards of acknowledgement where you show how what they did made a difference in your life. And I think that's what celebrating is. When you recognize your accomplishments and who helped you get there, you help them continue to do that for other people. And anybody who watches it says, well, I want to be that kind of person. I want to encourage others. I didn't know that what I said mattered, but it really does. It all matters. I mean, your encouragement to me has made a real big difference in my life, to pick me up and make me keep going.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, I think that cards are huge. I know that I've got cards that I've held on to for years, and I think it's kind of the same thing like when we talk about why somebody should have a book, because when you give somebody a book instead of a business card, people don't throw books away, especially if you sign them.
Right.
A signed book, I've got a whole bookshelf full of signed books that I'll have till the day I die, because they mean something to me. That, I met the person, they put their time and effort into writing the book. Even if you don't read the book, the fact is I do read books that people have signed over to me, but even if you don't read it, it's like somebody has given you a part of themselves, and you hold on to it because it's important.
Right. And it's personal and it's tangible. It's a physical reminder that they have put their thoughts down. They've been brave to articulate their ideas of the world and their suggestions and recommendations and life lessons learned. And so you just even saying them, like, I've been talking about writing a book for quite a while, and I started it almost 3 years ago and put it in a drawer.
I'll keep encouraging you.
And so you're encouraging me by honoring the people who have written a book and signed it. And I have done the same. You've given me a book that's signed, and I will always keep that. And in fact, all my books go in a special spot in my house, which I call the Zen Den. And it's just shelves of books and things that are important to me, that people have given me over time, that have believed in me and encouraged me and give me inspiration and hope. Because as we started, like, I don't want to be isolated and alone. I want to feel unified. And so even if they're not here, I can see the book. I can see the card sitting right here. Like, here's one I just got, and it says, "The world needs your voice. It needs your talents. It needs you." And just randomly in the mail. I mean, and it has a lovely sentiment inside, but I put it right here on my desk because it's encouraging. And the same with books. Surround yourself with books that encourage you.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break here. And on the other side of the break, I want to talk a little bit more here about some easy ways to express your pride in someone without sounding phony or stuffy. So we'll be right back to this. Hi, I'm Greg Jameson, the host of the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. Every week, I not only have the opportunity, but the real privilege of interviewing experts in their field, true thought leaders, and I get to share this information with you. The purpose of this is really to help you sell more of your products and services online, which is the core premise of my primary business, Web Stores Limited. At Web Stores, we go out and we create e-commerce websites for small businesses. Plus, we do internet marketing and digital advertising for those businesses to really help them sell more online. We have a whole number of resources and tools designed to help make this process easier for businesses, probably much like yours. I've been the author of several #1 best-selling books, including Amazon's Dirty Little Secrets and The Influencer Effect, plus a whole series of online courses if you want to learn how to do this stuff yourself. The best way to remain in contact with me, besides subscribing to this podcast, of course, is to simply go to gregjameson.com/free gift, where I have a special offer for you simply because you are a valued listener to this podcast. Thanks again, and now let's get back to today's episode. Welcome back to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. With me today is Abigail Manning, and right before the break, we were talking about really kind of simple ways that you could express your pride in someone without sounding phony or stuffy. So go ahead and give us some insights on that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you've heard me say the word authentic a couple times just in our conversation. That is a really big piece of what I teach people is who are you? Why do you think the way you think? Going deeper into that. And then is that who you want to be? And if not, change your behavior. But at all times, be authentic to the best part of you, right? So don't listen to any negative tapes like I'm not good enough or anything like that. Be who you really want to be and develop and work on that. And when you show up in the world can see that it's sincere, it's genuine, it's heartfelt. So if I talk to someone and I'm just me and I'm telling them what I genuinely see in them, and be specific, not just, this was a great talk. This was a great talk because it gave me inspiration. When you said ABC, it made me feel XYZ. Be specific in your praise and make it sound like you. Make it, people don't need to have, it's like parents. Parents, you can have two totally different type of parenting. The kid knows what you're saying, right? And the kid knows tough love versus, sweet love, that type of thing. So just authentically speak your truth in your own language. If you're not very good, or if you're like, hello, that was nice. And like you don't have the language skills, yourself, and you're like, I'm not very good at that. Then maybe write a card like we talk about. Maybe send an email. Maybe put that person's name in the newsletter with 3 words about why what they did mattered. Know your people. And if they really like a certain store, instead of just getting a generic gift card for like Amazon or Starbucks, like you see all the time, get a gift card for that specific store that they really like, and put it on their desk with a, I see you and you're doing a great job at, and then again, be specific. But whatever you do, make it sound truly like you and try to figure out what it is the other person makes them feel good. Like, is it public acknowledgement? Is it a written acknowledgement?
Yeah, I actually got a phone call from a friend that I had not heard from in a couple of years. So he he started out actually emailing me, and I said, "Hey, can we talk?" And so I said, "Sure." And then he called me up, uh, and it ended up we ended up going out to lunch together after we hadn't seen each other here for a couple of years. And it's sometimes just kind of reaching out and taking that step is really important, and it
Mhm.
it does help you celebrate people's successes. I got to catch up with him, find out what he'd been doing, and it made me think so much that that was really cool that he did that. That I've started doing that. It's like, who have
Right.
I not talked to for a while that I need to call up and say, hey, let's go grab a beer?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, not isolating. It's saying, I see you. You're not alone in this world. I care about you. Um, and connection. Isolation is one of the downfalls for mental health. So when we start getting isolated, it's easier to become depressed. It's easier to go into cycles of addictions, and PTS, and then thoughts of suicide. So the more that we can surround ourselves by people who care, like I know, like I can call Greg up and have a beer, or a glass of wine. I like wine better. So we then it makes for a healthier, happier world. And it's those happiness factors that keep us moving forward in life. Like I was saying, that if we get our tanks so empty, it's hard to get up, it's hard to get going, and it starts small and it grows bigger. So why not keep filling it up with moments of happiness, moments of connection with other people that we care about?
Yeah. Now you were talking here a little bit about mental health, and I want to kind of shift gears here a little bit. Not to talk about mental health per se, because that's not the purpose of the blog or the podcast here, but really to talk about your journey of kind of becoming an expert in this field, and how you've done a lot of the things that I tell people in any business to do, to go out there and start blogging, start speaking, start writing things, and getting yourself out there so that people know who you are. Uh, I'm curious as to what you have found what specifically you've done along those lines, and what you have found has really been effective for you to uh, become an acclaimed speaker now.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think for me, it was tapping into speaking my own voice. So I came from childhood abuse by both my parents, and I experienced domestic violence. And when you go through those types of experiences, you're taught to be very quiet. You're not supposed to speak your truth. And so for me, I didn't want to live in that anymore. I had made a vow when I was 8 years old that I was going to end the cycles of abuse. So I did that. I raised my kids by myself since the time they were 5 and 2, and they're off doing amazing adult things. And this was when I said, okay, now I really want to be able to speak my truth and help inspire and encourage, or share what I learned the hard way, maybe share that with other people. So what I did is I started speaking and blogging so that I could develop my content, so I could develop my own thoughts. So I came from a double major with cognitive social and behavioral skills, or theories rather, and double major from Indiana University. I studied for 5 years on mental health and abuse and all of those different things. And what I did is, I'm not a person who's going to stand up and say what other people are doing. I'm going to just talk from my own perspective. So I made it my own language, my own artwork, my own definition. So people can't say, oh yeah, I've heard that before, right? That they can hear it maybe in a different way, in a way that's true to my voice, true to my experiences, that's optimistic and hopeful. And it's okay. Those were just experiences, and we can get stronger because of our struggles. And by speaking and doing podcasts and events and keynotes, I learned to develop and fine tune my message. And that's why I actually tabled my book for so long, because I really wanted to fine tune what the message was, what the content, what really authentically helped other people, what connected with people. And that way I can help make this a healthier, more productive and thriving world, one person at a time, or one workshop at a time, or one big keynote at a time. But it really helped not to lock myself into one niche that I had to get this. I gave myself the time and the grace to figure out my own voice.
Yeah, and what you said there, I think, is so important, regardless of what niche somebody finds themselves in. and that is speaking from your own experiences, whether you're doing public speaking or writing a blog or whatever, but coming at any issue from your own experience is the thing that's really important to whoever it is that's consuming your content. I heard this thing about people writing a cookbook, well, there's already, 10 bazillion cookbooks out there. Why would you ever write another cookbook? And the reason is because it's your cookbook. This is what you learned by being a cook and how you can make the world a better place, basically. So everybody needs to hear your experience, and that's what sets you apart. And so, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a tough journey for sure, but it's also been an incredibly rewarding journey when you take limitations off of yourself and you say, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go big, and then I'm going to go bigger. And that would be my advice in celebrating your own life is don't limit yourself. Think about if at the end of the day, what would be the biggest thing I can go after? And to tell someone you trust, tell someone I'm going to do this. When I first put my information on Facebook, that was the first place I went live with my company. I had to have a friend here, and I sat there in like a sick to my stomach panic moment. And she's like, I don't care how long it takes for you to press enter. I'm going to stand right here until you do. And I just started laughing. I'm like, okay, well, you can't stay here all night. So I guess here we go. And having that. And then she and I still celebrate that, right? And now it's funny that was such a huge emotional hurdle for me compared to what I've done since then. So I encourage people to celebrate the small accomplishments and then think big and then think even bigger than that and keep moving towards those and tell people around you so you can celebrate one another.
Awesome information here today. Is there, before we wrap up, any kind of final thoughts that you want to leave with people or a website you want to point them to?
Sure. Well, I love hearing people's experiences. I love hearing where they took a tragedy and they turned it into triumph. They took a struggle and they made it into their strength. And so if you'd like to share one with me, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me at ca-cl.com. That's Create Awareness, Change Lives. And if you want more information on mental health and abuse in specific, you can go to abigailgmanning.com. And on both of those websites, you have my contact information. You can ask to join our newsletter. It's free. I'm happy to send it to you. And I would love to cheer for you.
Great. I'll make sure that those URLs are in the show notes as well. And just want to really say thanks, Abigail, for being here today. It's been a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Same here, Greg. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of 20 Minutes of Influence. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you are interested in booking myself as a speaker at one of your events or are interested in any of my coaching programs, please visit gregjameson.com.